Today on the DML News Podcast, there is an unbelievably bad thing happening in San Diego, and it's not only about yoga, but it's also about people around the world. Wait until we tell you about that one. Plus, Joy Behar admits what the left does, which is nothing when it comes to Joe Biden. We've got stories about Mexico, Russia, Trump, Rudy Giuliani. It's a whole packed show. I'm going solo, and it's all unfiltered.
Dennis Michael Lynch gives you his word, and he will never let you down. He will always fight for America.
The only one who really puts his money where his mouth is Dennis Michael Lynch.
Hello, I'm Dennis Michael Lynch, and I thank you for joining me today. Usually my co-host, Denny, is out. I do have, though, the very, very smart younger brother named Ryan. He's on the controls, and he's going to be giving commentary when asked. We have a bunch of different stories for you. Before we get into it real quick for about 2 seconds, I just want to say thank you to everybody on Facebook and on Team DML who gave prayers for my daughter, Ashley. She had a very intensive surgery yesterday. She is home recovering, and want to just say thank you for all the prayers. That's one of 3 surgeries she's got coming up, and so far we're 1 for 1 in terms of it being good. But she does have a long recovery, and again, on behalf of her, she said to me this morning, make sure you say thank you, Dad. And I said, okay. So I say thank you. Speaking of amazing daughters, Joe Biden yesterday, for some ungodly, only he knows why reason, felt as if he had to give a message to young men that said, if you're going to get married, make sure you get married into a family where there's lots of daughters. Ryan, would you do me a favor and play the video?
I say to every young man thinking of getting married, marry into a family of 5 or more daughters. I did. My wife's the oldest of 5 sisters. You know why? One of them will always love you. Not the same one. One of them will always be on your side. That's the biggest advantage of marrying into 5 daughters.
I think that any person who casts a vote for Joe Biden is absolutely mentally incompetent. How, first of all, what does that mean? What he said right there, what does that mean? I think, in my personal opinion here, I think Joe really wants to say is, hey, marry into a house with a lot of women and you could sniff their heads when your date is not around. I mean, it's just so pathetic. That's the message you have for young men? Go out and marry a girl who has a lot of sisters? I don't understand how anybody could look at this man and believe that he can run this country and really run the free world. And he can't. And that's why some of the things I'm going to report to you here today make sense. They make sense in the sense that they're happening because we do not have a leader. We do not have a competent leader in the White House. And I have said this since my entire career started nearly 20 years ago. If people do not have the information that they need in order to be able to cast a good, well-informed vote, the country dies. The media was established as a pillar for people like you and me who don't have power to have a voice. And that voice was, we were going to hold all politicians accountable. If you were corrupt, the press was going to go after you. If you weren't doing your job, the press was going to go after you. If you weren't showing up, the press was going to ask you why. The press was supposed to be the voice of the people. It was supposed to give us that power. It was the fourth estate, so to say. But the press has completely changed its ways. It is now a function of an ideology push. If you want to push your ideology and you're a liberal, all you need to do is call the press. And you give them favors. What you do is you say, hey, listen, we'll give you an interview with the president, or we'll give you access to breaking news, or when we want something, that can't be linked back to the White House, but it's really good, juicy stuff, and we'll let you be the first one to report it. And all these news agencies, basically what they do is they bend over backwards. They forget what it is that they're supposed to be doing for the American people. They forget about their job. And instead, they just want the scoop. And they want to get invited to the important parties. And they want to feel as if they can, pump up their chest and say, ooh, I'm the number one guy in press. I'm not making this up. Joy Behar, who I think is an absolute train wreck of a human being. She is more ugly in person than she is on television. And I don't like to face or body shame anybody. But when you look at her, you just see evil. There's evil. I once ran into her back where I used to live in East Hampton. She was at a garage sale of all places. And there's just an ugliness about her. And I don't mean cosmetically, I mean internally. And that ugliness just spews out. She has one of the most popular, and I can't understand why, shows on network television in The View. And she is up there for a living, slamming on Donald J. Trump and Republicans all the time. And it's like, wow, really? We don't do one thing good? There's nothing good about conservatives? What about one thing bad from your side? She doesn't do it. And she admits to Bill Maher, who is also a liberal. He hosts a television show, a very popular political television show on HBO. And Bill Maher will blatantly come out and blast Democrats as much as he does Republicans, especially with the way in which they're treating Trump. He doesn't do it as in, this isn't fair to Donald J. Trump. He does it in the sense of, you are treating this man unfairly and you are rallying up his troops, and there's no way we're going to win the election, especially when we've got somebody who is as lame and old as Joe Biden. In this clip here, this is from The View, and you will see exactly what I'm talking about unfold. Play a clip, Ryan.
But I'm nervous about saying anything against Biden because I feel, not that I have so much power, and you have some more than I do, obviously. But
I don't know about that.
Are you afraid that you might, influence people who are on the fence?
I think you lose all credibility. I do. I mean, my bond with my audience has always been I don't pull a punch.
Yeah.
My bond with my audience is you're not going to like everything I say, but I'm saying what I really think is true.
Right.
That's.
Right.
Okay. And look, Biden just presents as old. It's not really fair.
No.
Because he's almost the same age. Trump is almost the same age as him.
I know.
But Trump doesn't present that way. You look at somebody right away, you can kind of just sum them up. I mean, we are not young, but we don't present as old.
Yeah.
Biden does. I saw him yesterday making that speech.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry, he's cadaver-like.
But his brain is good. He's still great.
So there we go, Ryan. We've got Joy saying that she purposely does not call out the bad things about Joe Biden at a concern that she may sway voters to think differently, in the sense that they won't pull the lever for Joe Biden, and that they would pull the lever for Donald Trump instead if they actually knew the truth. So she is burying the truth on a daily basis in order to push an ideology.
It's funny how she just admits it too. Like, she's just like, hey, like, I don't like Donald Trump, so I'm going to keep the truth away. I'm going to, because when you present the facts to people, the real facts, it starts showing like, oh, Biden is a terrible person and terrible leader. So The View doesn't want that.
Of course they don't want that. And here's proof in what Ryan has to say. Here's proof in what Joy said. About 10 days ago, we launched the Great American Newsletter. And that can be found. It's a difficult URL. Ryan will put it up on the screen. It will change within the week. But it is right now Great Again, as in Make America Great Again, greatagain.squarespace.com. So greatagain.square, as in the shape, space.com. Greatagain.squarespace.com. When I put this on Facebook, we were getting over 1,000 signups a day. And I said to Ryan, I said, this is going to be sensational. We're going to get to the 1 million people that we need. Now, the reason why we launched this newsletter is because the walk-in talks, which I used to do on Facebook, prior to Trump taking the presidency in 2016, I was focusing in on trying to explain to people that the information that was being put out at the time, both from the left and the right, about Donald J. Trump was untrue. And even if some of it was true, like he's got a big ego, I was explaining how it is that that ego would work for us because Trump is going to want to be the best president of all time. He's going to want to be on Mount Rushmore, and therefore we will benefit because he's going to clean up the problems. He's going to fix them. My videos over a 3-month period wound up having over 100 million views, over 1 million shares. To this day, I have not seen or heard of anybody who even comes close to matching those numbers. Well, what wound up happening is Donald Trump won the election, not because of me, in part because of people like me. And I can't tell you how many emails and letters, I should bring them in one day, of people who have admitted that because of my videos, my walk and talks, they literally changed not only their vote. I'm not talking about they went from Cruz to Trump. I had plenty of those. I'm talking about I switched Democrats to Republicans at numbers that are earth-shattering. Why? Because they were with me on the walk and talks. They learned to trust me. Everything I said was true, and everything I said was checked out. People said, hey, man, this guy's telling the truth. This differs completely from what it is that I'm hearing from the mainstream media. That didn't go over well with Facebook because they got blasted from the Democrats that they played their role in helping Donald J. Trump take the White House. What the narrative became was it wasn't Dennis Michael Lynch and other people like him on Facebook using a media that was never available before. No, instead what they tried to do was sell this story that it was the Russians colluding with Trump. That's why he won. But deep down in, Facebook and all these social media companies knew exactly what was going on. So they changed all the rules. You saw with Twitter, when the Hunter Biden laptop case came up, what did they do? They shut down the story immediately. They put people like me on lists saying that I was a Russian bot, whatever that means. Facebook limited the reach of conservative broadcasters and conservative news agencies by cutting our reach on Facebook, and nobody got it as bad as I did. But the point in that is that when people do have access to the truth, they will think and they will vote differently. I always tell this story when asked for proof in the pudding, so I will give you one. There was a woman named Amy. She lived in New York. She was in her 60s. She actually painted her hair purple. That's how liberal she was. She stopped and watched one of my videos one day because she said, wow, you have some head of hair. Typical for a liberal. Forget about what I'm saying, but focus on what doesn't matter. Well, thank God that she liked my hair because she started listening to my videos about Trump. Not only did she move from New York to Florida, not only did she unpaint her hair purple and let it go back to its natural color, which at this point is gray, she switched parties. She voted for Trump not a once but a twice, and just recently ran as a conservative for the school board down in southern Florida and won. That's how powerful one person, me, can be when spreading the truth. Imagine if Joy Behar was to actually get on and admit what Bill Maher did, saying that Joe Biden is actually old and he presents old. And yet she still is going to say, but his mind is great. His mind is not great. Who put this woman on television? Clearly, he is suffering from dementia. Clearly, he can't come up with a sentence. My boys yesterday played videos of him. He is useless. He thought that he was vice president during the pandemic. That's a mind that's great. What is wrong with these people? What did Donald Trump do to people like Joy that's so horrible other than increase her 401k, make her the value of her real estate better than it was? I guarantee you that if we had Joy's portfolio and we looked at what it was during Barack Obama and then looked at what it was by the time that Donald J. Trump was in his second year, she probably doubled her money. What did he possibly do that was so damn bad? You know what he didn't do? He didn't take an intern into the White House and stick a cigar in places that cigars don't go. But I bet you that if Bill Clinton wanted to be on The View, she'd sit him right next to her. This is what we're up against. This is what we're up against. I'm going to turn right now to the border. Joe Biden has left the border wide open. We've got people coming through into this country that are other than Mexican. It's called OTM. Now, when you used to say other than Mexican, it used to be termed as a racist sort of thing. Oh, these are just good, God-fearing people who want a better life. The Mexicans are coming out. Well, no, we're getting other than Mexican. I remember when I used to be on TV talking about this, and I would be deemed a racist. And I would say, we have people coming in from all over the world. No, we don't. No, we don't. Yes, we do. And it's only perpetuated and gotten worse. Ryan right now is going to play a video that is from last night. Bill Malugin, Fox News, down in the San Diego sector, which now has become the number one sector in the country for border crossings. 2:00 in the morning, take a listen to the type of people that are coming across into your country right now. Play the video.
Where are you guys from? What country?
Pakistan.
Pakistan.
India.
India. Where are you from?
Turkey.
Turkey?
Yeah.
Turkey. Okay.
India.
India. Where are you guys from?
Turkey.
Turkey. Turkey? Where are you guys from?
China.
China.
Ecuador.
Ecuador? Where are you guys from?
India.
India.
India. India.
India.
India. Sagar Baba.
India. India.
India.
India?
India.
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 India?
Yes. India.
All India?
India.
India. Iran.
Iran.
You're all from Iran. Why'd you come?
No freedom.
No freedom?
Yes, in Iran. Iran is a dangerous country. No freedom for speak, for writing, for singing, for thinking.
So we have people, Ryan, coming in just in that one clip alone, Turkey, China, India, and Iran. The days of the Mexican coming over are gone. We officially have ourselves a Middle Eastern and a Chinese invasion.
All the Latinos have already came over. They're done now. And now it's the turn of, the Iranian terrorist and the Chinese spy. Because you don't see Chinese women coming over the border. It's all military-aged male Chinese men. And why do you think they're coming over here?
Well, I know why they're coming over here.
I think they're spies, and at the end of the day, they report back to the Chinese government.
Let me first of all, when it comes to the women, the Chinese do it a little bit smarter. So the women get pregnant in China, and then Xi Jinping sends them to California, where they know they're not going to get their chops busted. They go to what's called birthing hotels. They will give birth, so this way their child will have U.S. citizenship. They will get back on the plane with that child, and that child will be raised in China. But when that child is an adult, that child will have the ability to go back as a U.S. citizen to America through the 14th Amendment, and they will be able to petition for their parents and their relatives through chain migration to come back into the United States. Meanwhile, he sends young men over, as Ryan said, to be spies and to also impregnate women who are here in the United States. And basically, what will wind up happening is that there will be a marriage, and that Chinese man will wind up having citizenship. Sooner or later in this country, mark my words, you will see a Chinese man or a Chinese woman, but I'll bet all the tea in China that it's a man, a Chinese man run for election for the presidency of the United States. And because China does what it does with our elections, which is basically manipulate them and control them, and that's why I believe we have Joe Biden in office, you will see a Chinese president. And when that happens, you may as well just close the blinds, say your prayers, and turn on the gas stove, because the country blows up at that point. That is the long-term plan of Xi Jinping. And if you don't think that that's what's coming, you are literally insane. Now, Biden, knowing the fact that he's got himself a massive problem when it comes to this upcoming election in two different ways. Number one is he has a problem with immigration, and number two, he does with the economy. He's taking certain steps. We just did something on the newsletter today. You'll be able to read it if you open it up. It's about how it is that there's going to be this lower gas price push during the summer. And that's because everybody's traveling in the summer for vacations. And that's the last thing they're going to remember is how much they paid for gas. And the misleading thought that the economy is getting better usually starts with the price of gasoline. There you go. That's what he's going to do. He can control that, and that's what Biden and his people are going to do. But when it comes to the border, he's got a bigger problem. So what Joe Biden is trying to do is he's trying to come up with a border bill that will be a stopgap in part. So this way, not so many people can come over and just simply blanketedly lie about having an asylum claim. He's trying to limit the amount of people who are coming through. Now, Democrats voted for this going back months ago when it had funding in it for the Ukraine and the Israel defense funding. Well, would you know it? Now that that's already been done, and now this bill is being presented again with the strip outs of Ukraine and Israel, you've got dirtbags like Senator Cory Booker, who basically is one of the senators for New Jersey. I think he is in there simply because he checks a box, not because he's smart. And now he says that he cannot any longer support this bill because this bill is too tough on asylum seekers, and it does not align with Americans' point of view and value system, which is absolutely absurd. The value system of the Democrat is to simply run the voter rolls in a way that is going to be filled with poor migrants who are going to have no choice but to vote for Democrats so this way they can get free stuff. That's what they're doing. That's what the Democrats are doing. If you are a Democrat and you see the border as it is right now, if you're not feeling this in your town and in your state at this point, in your school district, you must be hiding under a rock. This is everywhere. So if you vote for the Democrats in this upcoming election, you are the problem, not Joe Biden. You are the problem. I don't want to associate with you. I don't want to talk to you. I can't stand you. You are the problem. I don't think you should talk to any Democrat. If you have a Democrat friend, a Democrat family member, you have a Democrat neighbor, and you like that person, remember what that person is doing to you, your children, your grandchildren, and the future of this country. They are destroying it by making a vote for a Democrat. Because when you vote for a Democrat, what you're doing, you're voting for open borders. You're voting for higher inflation. You're voting for crap. Meanwhile, over in Mexico, there's a story right now. This is the sort of thing that's coming through our border every single day. When you have open borders like we have them right now, you are allowing cartel into your world. They just found 4 men and 2 women stacked up in a pile, dead, in the vacation resort area of Acapulco. Think about how nice it used to be when you think about, oh yeah, we're going to go to Mexico, we're going to go to Cancun, we're going to go to Acapulco. No, you're not. You're not going to go there and come home. You're going to wind up in a body bag. This is what we're allowing in. That mentality is what we're allowing into this country. That's what Cory Booker wants. So he's not going to go for a more defended border, closed border. These people are anti-America. Speaking of anti-America, just to change gears here for just 1 second, Russia. Let's speak about Russia for 1 moment. The Russians are working with the Chinese. We know this. We just reported on this program how it is that the Russians, Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping, have met for the 2nd time in a year, and they're talking about how it is that the world is coalescing against the United States. I'm going to read to you just the first 2 paragraphs out of a story from the Washington Times, which was posted today. Russia recently launched a counter-space weapon capable of attacking U.S. satellites in low Earth orbit, Defense Department officials said on Tuesday. And they stressed that the American military is ready to protect and defend the domain of space if necessary. I don't know how, because especially if you wound up watching the show yesterday of the video we played with the new military style guy we have, or is it a girl, putting lipstick on while on an aircraft carrier. Pentagon spokesman Major General Patrick Ryder told reporters that Russia launched the weapon on May 16. He said the weapon is similar to other counter space payloads that Russia launched in 2019 and 2022. But the most recent launch comes amid fears in Washington that the Kremlin might consider putting a nuclear weapon in space, and against the backdrop of the broader reality that space is shaping up to be a key battleground in the 21st century conflicts. So here's what we've got. We've got a U.S. military that has guys putting lipstick on and making TikTok videos versus Xi Jinping, who's sending spies and young military-aged men here to the United States, sending women who are pregnant who are going to give birth to U.S. citizens because the 14th Amendment is misinterpreted. We've got two men who realize, in Xi Jinping and Putin, that the time to strike the United States is now. Is now. You know, Ryan, your mother and I just watched a movie dating back to the 1980s. Remember on the, we did the Wine and Talk last week, and we were talking about that nuclear war movie. I think it was called The Day After.
Yeah.
And Mom and I, 2 nights ago, decided, hey, you know what? Let's watch that. We talked about it on the Wine and Talk. We watched it. In terms of the filming and the graphics, I mean, you could see how far we've come in 30, 40 years since that's aired. But it was an amazing sort of thing because it showed the reality of what happens if a nuclear warhead goes off over the skies of the United States. And it shows how it is that we try to retaliate. And in that Wine and Talk, we talked about a new report that's out that says that if there was all-out nuclear war, the entire planet is gone. It's gone in a matter of 72 minutes. And your mother asked me, how did the Russians, because the Russians are the enemy in that film, how did the Russians know to detonate a bomb over that remote part of Kansas where our missiles were? And I said, well, obviously they had intelligence. And she asked me a question, and I stopped in my tracks. She goes, do you think that's why China wound up sending over that spy balloon that went across one side of America to the other side of America and went through the middle of the country? Do you think that they were looking for other places that obviously look like, you know, missile silos? And I said, that's absolutely the reason why. What's your take?
I would hope nuclear war wouldn't break out, because I feel like it's a lose-lose for everyone. But I think that balloon, I mean, sure, coming over the entire United States, especially where I'm pretty sure most of our nuclear silos are in the middle of the country. I wouldn't be surprised if that's what they were looking for, but I feel like Putin and Xi are just encircling our country, and we're too ignorant to, look at the fact. I mean, like we covered yesterday, me and Denny, that soldier that is doing lipstick on the aircraft carrier, dancing. If you did that in Russia, you'd be thrown in the gulag. So it's like, how, we like to tout how powerful our military is. Like, are we kind of, is pride getting in the way? Because it doesn't, I don't know, the more I see that, the more I think maybe our military is kind of losing focus on what they're supposed to be doing.
Well, I mean, I'll put a metaphor in place. Let's say, for instance, that you owned a bar and you hired Mike Tyson to be your bouncer. I don't think you're going to have to worry about anybody trying to start a fight. However, if you wind up putting lipstick on Mike Tyson and tying his hands behind his back and putting shackles on his ankles, Mike Tyson's no longer a force. And now people just take advantage of it. I use that because in this case scenario, we've got a woke government led by Barack Obama, George Soros, and puppeted by Joe Biden. And we are taking our military and we're taking almost everything that makes us powerful and we're shackling it. And we're making it so this way it doesn't exist. And if people don't understand the intelligence that the Russians and Chinese have on us, I mean, all they have to do is look at the television set, Rye, and see how it is that Joe Biden stumbles over his own words, thinks that he was the vice president during the pandemic, and this is pretty much the way to victory. Get them while they're weak, because if you knew that they were going to change Mike Tyson and bring in the entire New York Giants football team to be the bouncers, you would wind up taking advantage before they brought in the new guard. Would you not agree?
Yeah, and I think another thing you have to look at is, like, I just saw a report the other day that the UK military is like not even a thing anymore. Like, the United States came out and said, like, we couldn't even trust them to, join a war with us. Like, they're completely depleted. I think that's why a big part of it is you have China and Russia. They're all like very powerful military powers. And then you're looking at the Europe, and they've been de-escalating their militaries for decades, and now they're trying to revamp it up currently, like Poland and Germany. You just got to think, like, they see the writing on the wall. I think everyone sees the writing on the wall, and we like to act like there isn't.
Well, there's a common thread there, which I think would be ridiculous for anybody to ignore. Look at the UK. The number one name for a baby boy over the last few years has been Mohammed. They have changed the complexity of that nation. And most of Europe at this point has been overrun by the same thing. Look at the story we did the other day on the newsletter. Germany, a big town in Germany, has now allowed, even though only 8% of the population is actual Muslim, they've given in, and now Muslim Islamic prayer will be blasted on loudspeakers throughout the town, where 92% of the residents who are not Muslims have to hear this prayer, call to prayer, every day on the permanent loudspeakers. So the Muslims are taking over all these places. And what do you think they're doing? They're demilitarizing. They're stripping down what has made these countries so strong over the course of time. And because look, I've told you this before on this show, and it's going to happen. The greatest war ever to be fought, the United States is not going to fight in it. The biggest war to come in this world would be the Chinese versus the Muslims, because both are trying to take over the world. Muslims want to take over the world and have everything be Sharia law. Chinese want to have world dominance. Those two worlds don't collide very nicely. So it's going to be devastating. And what's happening here in the United States is we're doing the same thing. We are allowing Muslim influence to take control of everything. And if you take a look at what's going on around the world right now with Palestine and Israel, it's a perfect example. Right now, Joe Biden is not leading by example. Joe Biden is leading by means of saying, let's be sympathizers to Hamas. Here, just today, we wound up seeing this come across. Ireland, Norway, and Spain announced they are officially recognizing Palestine as a state 7 months after the October 7th attack on Israel. The Irish Prime Minister put out a statement. The Spanish Prime Minister put out a statement. The Norwegian Prime Minister put out a statement. And basically, they're all aligning with Palestine and Hamas, leaving Israel off to the side and saying, the hell with you, it's over. And so 7 months, there are still 128 Israelis are held captive by Hamas. And these countries are starting to legitimize Hamas. And I'll tell you why that is. Because each one of these countries is taking in more Muslims and more Muslims every single month. And that's why the table is turning. And if it does not stop, I guarantee you the United States is just another country in line with what's going to wind up taking place. And that is Muslims and the Chinese will absolutely dominate the world, and the United States will fall to its knees because of political correctness and because of the Democrat Party. Ryan, last word to you before we turn off and go strictly to Team DML.
It's perfectly said, the battle between China and Muslims. I mean, the UK or Ireland and all those countries, you know why they're acknowledging Palestine? Because, like you said, Muslims are coming in, and a lot of them are now holding positions in office.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mayors, part on their parliaments. So I think what happened to UK is what's ultimately they're gonna try and do to the United States, and it's either gonna be Chinese legislation, people in the legislature that are Chinese, or it's gonna be Muslim. I think the Muslims are ahead right now, but I think China, that's why they're sending all these people in too.
You hit it on the head. It's exactly what it's wound up happening. Now, with this in mind, I hate to do this to the people who are on YouTube and on Facebook, but look, we're going to start talking about the election. We're going to be showing you videos here, videos from Arizona, because Rudy Giuliani has just pleaded not guilty to, I think it's 9 counts of election fraud or whatever it is that they nailed him with. We're going to play a video for you that's going to shock you. We're also going to play another video about election fraud that looks like it's taking place in Baltimore. And then we're going to show you about the war that is just on the poor white people in this country. 2 videos that you have to see of where white people are just getting pummeled for the sake of being white. I can't show you these things. I can't talk to you about these things on Facebook or YouTube. They won't allow it. So here's what you can do. And I ask you, please, really think about this. Let this soak in if you're watching this. People like me, I can't survive without the support of you. I can't survive with Facebook. I can't survive with Google. They cut us off. They demonetize us. I don't even run ads anymore from Google, and they still send me violation reports each and every day. It's crazy. They try to demonetize us to a way to where we become irrelevant. So we created Team DML. At teamdml.com, you could get there on desktop or on your computer, or if you want to download the DML News app, you could get there from tab 5. Basically, just go interact, Team DML. You're all set. You become a member. You could get a membership for as low as $2.50 per month. We don't get members, we're closing this place down. And that's it. And I can tell you, I'm at the point in my life, I don't need to work anymore. I could easily retire, open up a nice restaurant with my son, who's a fantastic cook, and be out of this political mess. But I feel as if we need to fight for our country. If I'm going to fight and I'm going to fight alone, I'm not going to win. I need your support. So you come into Team DML, you become a partner of ours, if you will, you get to watch the full video every single day. You get to chat with the other people who are live chatting all day long on Team DML. We have thousands of members. We need you to come in. There are other membership levels, even more higher than that, where we'll help you with DML CBD and things of that nature. So please give it a look. And if you can't, I understand some people are hurting where $2.50 is impossible. At minimum, please sign up for the newsletter. That's greatagain.squarespace.com. Greatagain.squarespace.com. But we really would appreciate if you would take a look at our membership. All right, that's it for us with Facebook and YouTube. And now we are going to start our Team DML version of the show by playing a video out of Arizona. Listen to this.
Get the Dennis Michael Lynch podcast every day by subscribing on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and download the DML News app from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store for breaking news, merchandise, films, exclusive content, and Team DML.